Back on our 2019 draft review, a bit of a surprise at number 9 perhaps for the Washington Wizards, who took Gonzaga's Rui Hachimura. He made history as the first Japanese-born player ever drafted into the NBA. Wes, first-team All-American, averaged just under 20 a game for the Zags. Is that a surprise that he cracked the top 10?
I think he just had one of the broader ranges. It's not really a surprise, I think, that he goes 9, but it was hard to peg where he was going to go in this draft. You know, first of all, start off the top. Another great kid, great teammate, great worker, beloved at Gonzaga. You know, the strengths, good size, good skill. You know, there's hope that he can be a three-point shooter, shot over 40 from 3 on limited attempts. On the weaknesses, you know, he doesn't have great mobility, average rebounder, and there's some questions about his decision-making with more turnovers than assists. And when you look at the NBA, you know, you got to be able to switch and stay in front of these speed guards.
Right.
And that's one of the big questions for him moving forward.
Who he's going to guard, for one, and if he can switch, for two.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the speed in the NBA at this point, I mean, we just saw it in the finals. You got to switch because there's so much shooting on the court, and then you got to be able to keep those guys in front.
He's got an elite physical profile. He's got huge hands, and he's got some upside, but he's got some weaknesses. He's a reluctant three-point shooter, and he is not able right now to be able to get out there and switch and guard multiple positions. And those are two limiting factors if you're looking at a stretch four-man.
Guys, you keep reminding me there are no perfect players available. That's really frustrating for folks in your position.
That's why coaches have jobs, because our job is to help them get better.
We would say it in the draft room all the time. When you're talking about players, you're trying to figure it out. It's never what a player can't do, because every player has weaknesses. It's what they do at the NBA level, and that's where Rui's going to have a chance. If he can stretch it out, make it more consistently, play away from the basket, maybe not turn it over a little more, he's going to have a nice future here in the NBA.
The Hawks were back to work at number 10. They chose Cam Reddish from Duke. As we discussed in our pre-draft coverage, a bit of a polarizing player. He was something of a third wheel on that Duke team, a disappointment to some despite some clutch shooting along the way. Now from Durham to Atlanta here. How does he project in the NBA, guys?
Big question, you know, opinions certainly all over the board. And, you know, people talk about what he was not at Duke. Certainly he was a very good player or a starter on a #1 overall seed, a team that was 1 point away from going to the Final Four. Everybody should be that bad. But, you know, to me, Cam Reddish is interesting because he kind of hits to the psychology of the NBA draft. He got picked as high as he did tonight because of what he did before he got to Duke and what people think he has the potential to do after he leaves Duke. Based on what he did this season at Duke, I don't know that I would call him even a first-round pick in the NBA draft. People talk about, well, he had a certain different role. He put that on himself.
Yes.
They didn't want him to defer to the other guys. They wanted him to be that alpha male. And so for a player of his caliber to shoot 36% from the floor, 33% from three-point range, never really apply himself consistently, I frankly have a lot of doubts as to whether or not he's going to be mentally ready for what he's going to get in the NBA.
Seth, I agree with you to a point, but I think this kid's going to need a year to just mature and grow. Not from when I say mature, from a standpoint that he's immature. He just got to grow into his body. Second, you're right, the talent is off the chart. This kid can either be an all-star or he can be a bust. So the talent is clearly there, and I like this pick for the Hawks. This question for him is, how long it's going to take him to get it? Is that light bulb going to come on? I had the opportunity to coach him a couple of summers ago, and the talent is off the chart. He can handle, he can shoot it, and he's more of 6'8" than 6'7". He is a tall, long, lanky kid. Reminds me of Tim Thomas coming from Philly. Great family, met his mom and dad, spent time with him. Great family. I'm like you. Is he going to put the work in? If this kid gets in the gym and works on his body and works on his game, he has a chance to have a long, great career. But again, it's all going to depend on Cam. If Cam puts the work in and embraces the grind, and that's something that we talk about all the time. Are you then going to be that type of player that gets in the gym and get in that weight room and work and embrace the grind? If he does that, he's going to have a great career. If he doesn't, then who knows? He's going to be teetering in and out. But as far as the talent, you're right, Seth. The talent is there. The concerns, he didn't go get it. He didn't have that alpha male in him. And a lot of that could have been because he played with Barrett and Zion Williams. But again, normally when you play with two other great players, you're trying to prove yourself also. And he just took too much of a backseat for me. But again, the talent is there. I like the picks for the Hawks. all this going to rest on the shoulders of Cam.
Well, it's a mental toughness question, not only what you're getting from your opponents night in and night out, but also from your teammates in the NBA.
Exactly.
You're trying to take their minutes. You're trying to take their money. It's a dog-eat-dog world there, and I have my doubts about whether or not, I'm certainly rooting for him. I hope he does well, but I have my doubts about whether or not he's going to be ready to succeed at the next level, guys.
All right, from one Cam to another, and from Duke to North Carolina in this case, Cam Johnson may be considered the first big reach of the draft. The Suns put the stretch 4 in Johnson, who at 6'9" was considered by many the best shooter available. He hit nearly 46% of his threes last season, but from a value perspective, how does this pick grade out?
Well, I like that you just take the player that you believe is going to be the best player for you and your franchise. So I like that, but you mentioned it. That's step one. Step two is, okay, how can I best maximize this pick? And when you look at what Boston did with the 20th pick, flipped back to 24, picked up 33, then flipped 24 for a future first, Boston did a really nice job of maximizing what they could get.
And saving money along the way.
And saving money along the way. My gut is you probably could have got Cam Johnson there in the 20s. And so you would have loved to see maybe flip back from, 11 to 20, let's say, pick up something else, and then you're able to get your guy a little bit later, add to your team, save some money on the rookie scale. So I like it if you like the player. I don't love it from an asset maximization play.
Purely in terms of player evaluation, folks are always looking for that one defined NBA skill. Well, his is pretty easy to spot.
Best shooter in the draft at 6'9". 5 seasons, he shot 40% from 3. He's got great range. One thing that doesn't get talked about much with Cam, he's a terrific back cutter because teams are always extending him and trying to keep the ball out of his hands. He does a really nice job of back heading, getting open. He can finish the rim. He can drive right downhill. My concern also about the value in the pick is durability. He's been hurt almost every season, and he is, a little light in the loafers with a 6'9" frame.
Yeah, medicals are a concern. He's had surgeries on both hips. We'll see how that plays out in the pros. Hornets had the number 12 selection. They took Kentucky's P.J. Washington, who led the Cats in scoring and rebounding as a sophomore. Washington was a good mid-range scorer. He's got a jump hook, but at 6'8", there's some question what position he'll play as a pro guy. Sam, how does he look to you as an NBA prospect?
Sam, I go through this exercise every year with the NBA draft, right? So you talk to all these scouts, and they're always looking for comparisons. There are certain archetypes over the years that always seem to pop up, and one of them is David West. He's David West. He's David West. This guy to me is the David West of this draft. The other guy who comes to mind is Grant Williams from Tennessee, a guy who's just going to be a pro. He's going to show up every day. He's going to work. He's going to set screens. He's going to rebound. He's going to score. We all know about the decision to go back to Kentucky, to put himself through that again, to test himself, to push himself, improve his body, improve his mentality. You could see his confidence growing as the season goes on. To me, I don't know that he's ever going to be an all-star per se, but I believe if he's healthy, he's got a chance to be a 12 to 15-year NBA veteran playing a couple of different teams. He's going to be a guy you want not only on the court, but in your locker room and in your community, because I believe that he's a winner, and I think he's a really, really good pick.
Seth, I agree with you. I first saw this kid between his 11th grade and senior year. I coached him at Adidas Nation. And the thing about it, at 6'8", he was heavy. He didn't have a position. He was like a 6'8", undersized center. And I used to tell him after the practices and after the game, son, what do you want to do? You're not an outside shooter. You're an undersized post guy. Lo and behold, I watch him at Kentucky. This kid gets in shape. He changes his body. He adds range, moves to his game. So when I look at a player that I've seen from the 11th and 12th grade year, go to Kentucky as a freshman, don't have the type year, because a lot of people thought he was going to be a one and done, but have the maturity to go back to school and stay another year and continue to work on your body and your game. I love players like that because it tells me two things. That he listened to the criticism, and instead of sulking and complaining about it and feeling bad about it, he did something about it. He got up off his butt. He worked. He's made himself into a really good basketball player. He's already was big and physical. Now he done trimmed down. He's quicker. He's agile. And at 6'8", he is a load because he's strong and physical. He can shoot the jump, and I think that's going to get better. But when you play him at that power forward position, he's going to be that new age power forward guy, that he can still post up with the jump hook, take you outside, and he's quick. And when he gets downhill with that body and he gets you on that hip, you're not going to be able to get back in front of him. He's going to get to the free throw line. So I like PJ from the standpoint that you watch his trajectory, he's constantly getting better.
Yeah, he's just a pro's pro. Really good pick for Charlotte, guys.
All right, P.J. Washington to the Hornets. The next pick also came out of Lexington, with the Heat choosing Washington's teammate, freshman Tyler Hero, with the 13th pick. They describe him as a gym rat, an aggressive scorer with UK, who also hit better than 93% of his free throws last season, which you got to like.
Oh, one of my favorite players in the draft. I would have had him in the top 10.
How do you feel about his suit before we get into your evaluation?
And no joke, this is confidence. To go out there
That's
and to wear
absolutely
that
true.
suit, and when you watch him play, he plays with confidence. And so this is exactly who he is. I love it, love the pick. And whenever the Miami Heat make a pick, I think it's going to be a good one.
He's got a real good mid-range game. Obviously, he can shoot the ball from 3. The big question is, when you put him in isolation ball, can he keep smaller, quicker guys in front of him?
Yeah, we'll find out soon enough, right? It's the way it works. Can't hide forever. Eventually, you got to play against these guys and see what you can do. On the way, suddenly the Celtics are spinning in a bunch of different directions. How the draft factored into their summer next.